Hello everyone, welcome to the new Warwick Academy Marine Science Centre. When initially Dave Horan came to us with the idea to do something with this area, both myself and Ros Wingate was very excited to develop it. We have such an intimate connection with the ocean. You know, Bermuda, we're really a canary in the coal mine. We are the only island, obviously, in the Atlantic, and there's so much that we don't know, and especially in these times with climate change, there's so much importance that needs to be placed on education around the marine environment. And while we can offer the opportunity for students to get access to hands-on science, we want to promote that in any way we can. And so, as you can see, develop the Marine Science Centre. Our objective to this was not only to build a facility where we can do labs, but also a habitat restoration. So it was very important for us that we restore native and endemic habitat. This was overgrown with invasives, and we wanted to be able to sit this marine centre surrounded by the natural environment and really have this feeling of being, in the natural environment. And, while things are growing up around us, it's still early stages. This is really a 10-year goal in terms of the vegetation and the overall look that we hopefully will achieve. So if we start first with the Marine Science Centre, so we have here built some little sort of work tables, which can be lowered or higher as we see fit. And our hope is that maybe for something like geography, we can put coordinates. Students can look for certain landmarks. It could be creative writing. It could be maybe doing something, with drawing. It could be that we are doing identification, so some sort of scavenger hunt where we have information pieces and the students are moving around the marine science area finding that information. We are hoping to set up some touch tools so that students can actually, especially the younger students, can come up and look at some sea urchins, sea cucumbers, things that are a little bit more resilient, because we don't want to be bringing anything delicate that the students can't touch and look at. But, again, sort of trying to bring the marine environment closer to them for observation. We are going to be hanging some spat nets over the side of the dock, which we can easily pull up, and we can see sort of the diversity of mollusks and things that form on those spat nets. And in fact, even the floating dock, you can monitor that over time to see how the diversity of that changes. What barnacles, what little mollusks, what little tiny larval forms might hide under there at different times of the year. We have had students already using the facility for experiments. So we've had lots of students come down and do plankton tows. We had students coming down and looking at wave length and refraction index of the water. We have had students look at productivity of the marine environment and plankton. We've had geography classes down here. We've had primary down here. So we are starting to open up the space and develop it, but there's still a lot more to come. We've had students in the past use these algal tubes to actually monitor photosynthesis and carbon fixation to offset, obviously, climate change, which we're hoping to get back up and installed. And we ultimately are, thanks to Biostation and the Living Reef Organization, going to be a holding facility for corals, where we will actually be getting the corals from Biostation. We'll be looking after them here, we'll be monitoring them, we'll be cleaning them, and then hopefully then be able to pass those on to Living Reef Organization for them to actually reestablish the artificial reefs. At the minute, we're still testing all the systems, we're testing the water. We want to make sure that the conditions that we have for our corals are absolutely perfect before we actually start to get living organisms down at the dock. Over here, we have out here one of the plankton nets that was used actually early on this morning. They were taking plankton samples. And I'll take you into our lab for a sneak peek. It's a small lab, and the idea is that we are hoping to get different organizations that might want to come down and do research. There are all the microscopes that they're going to be looking at for the plankton tow, and most recently, ECTRIC has donated a microscope that actually has an inbuilt camera, which we're really, really excited by. Andrew Medeiros donated it and came down to set it all up on Saturday for us, which was absolutely wonderful. For a long time in science, we have tried to move towards more hands-on real-life education. You know, it's about the skills, it's about the science, it's not about what you can learn in a textbook. And as we build into our science program, we've introduced ROV building as part of collaboration with what BIOS runs the ROV challenge every year. So they are learning their physics principles and then building the ROVs alongside those physics principles. And the hope is they'll actually bring them down, test them in the marine environment, put cameras on the ROVs so that they can see what's on the dock, what's on the floating pontoon. They can put little sensors on there to measure temperature, for instance. We're hoping to get a lot more computer programming and build some of those sensors ourselves. We can come back out. We also have for the Natural History Club, and Ros Wingate has worked very hard on sustainable gardening, and we are, well, they've been busy planting natives and endemics over the last few years, and this is really what we see in our habitat restoration. So we've planted in palmettos up here. We've not planted too many because we need to have access to the storage areas and the bathrooms, but the idea that they'll eventually come up and they'll provide a lovely canopy to shade the students as they sit. We do have also the facility to be able to show movies, so we started utilizing this area on Saturdays to show environmental films, and that's been quite popular. And if we move towards coming out of the Marine Science Center, so you will see that we have tried to plant zonationally those species that would be closer to the naturally to the marine environment. And as we move further into sort of upland forest area, we are moving more into the cedar trees, the palmettos, and away from things like, well, actually there is one little cedar down there, but away from what is the more marine environment. I'm actually super thrilled. This buttonwood is one of the original buttonwoods, and this one here that has actually bounced back brilliantly after it suffered a little bit of damage. And so it's really nice to have them as sort of stewards of the area. They were the original plants that were here in amongst the invasives. There's also a huge area on the other side of the Marine Science Center. We still have some Chinese fan palms that we've left in place to shade and to anchor the soil. They will eventually be coming out, but Ros Wingate and the Natural History Club and lots of volunteers have been busy planting that area, and there's more plants to come. And the idea is that eventually they will be removed and the palmettos will come up in place. There's going to be a pathway that walks all the way around the front of the Marine Science Center through a salt marsh that we'll be using to run the excess salt water out of our system. And then there'll actually be a bridge that comes up and over this water feed pipe over here so that students can do a big circle around. So not only will they see the zonational planting, but they will see succession and be able to map out that succession over the next 10 years to see how the plants evolve and develop. Some of the plants took a little bit of a hit from the hurricane, but they all survived and they're bouncing back. And we're about to do, I said, another big planting within this area. So if I come over this direction, so one of our concerns when we started the build was we did have caves that were in this area. We didn't want to be invasive. We did not want to destroy any of the caves. So it was really, when myself and Ms. Wingate came down here, we we had to look at the area, look at what was already here, what do we need to avoid, like the caves, what do we need to avoid, like the buttonwoods, how is the Marine Science Centre going to sit within this landscape. We had lots and lots and lots of help from people from Biostation, Bermuda Aquarium and Zoo, loads and loads of independent people. I won't try and list everybody because I'm sure I will forget some names, but I can't thank them enough for their valuable input, their experience, because we are building something, and trying to get it right from the get-go. And the reality is a lot of these things, evolve over time. You change them over time, what works, what doesn't work. And by having that expertise, we really got a head start on our system. So if we come over here, we have one of the cave systems. And this cave system actually runs all the way under Morgan's Road and all the way to the bottom of the Warwick Academy property. And there's a little Warwick lizard there ready to say hello. There's a few invasives that have popped in here, like the jumbie beans and the asparagus fern, which are really, really difficult to try and remove. But our next phase will be, hopefully we would like to get this mapped. I know a lot of students remember who came to Warwick Academy many years ago going into the cave systems. It would be nice to get actually officially mapped and open it up a little bit more. Also planting some ferns and a nice biodiversity around the cave system. And we can start monitoring sort of mini microclimates in this area. About 8 years ago, on the Bodmin School field, I saw one of the giant mangrove crabs, one of the big, big white ones with the big claws. Unfortunately, I've not seen one since, but my hope is that there is a population in here somewhere. They're quite opportunist feeders, so I'm hoping that they've managed to survive. And as we open up the area and bring in things that they can feed on, we might actually see evidence of those giant crabs. Within this area is a perfect place to set up a little weather system. We also have been talking about putting in a storm surge data monitoring system. So, we all know with climate change and with hurricanes, we have stronger hurricanes, and with the last one, huge amount of swell that comes from it. What does that tide look like? What does the sea level rise look like during a hurricane? How can we monitor that? And it's something that we've been monitoring some places in the island since Hurricane Emily, but certainly for the harbour where so many people live, that would be a really great thing to monitor. So we really want to look at this being something that is for the community, the citizen science. We really want to get other schools coming down, other organizations coming down to utilize the area, projects that they might have, ideas that they may have. This really is for everybody. It's to give access. The last time there was a benefit study done of the harbour was quite some time ago. I think it was in the 1990s. So, to open up this access point, to open up the ability for people to explore what does this harbour look like, get a baseline for the harbour, what does the biodiversity look like, and maybe even work on bringing a bit of that biodiversity back. So the final sort of aspect of this sort of design was to obviously allow the students to get access. They come down here and they do kayaking and various different water events. We're hoping to maybe get some PADI diving experience as well down here. So we've been talking to JP Skinner from WaterStart and potentially doing some sort of collaboration where students can sort of start building some of those skills that they will need in the marine environment. But at present, what happens is the students go down this walkway and they go onto the floating dock, and this is where they actually take the plankton tows from. This is where they actually can put the ROVs into the marine environment and have a look at the underwater access to the cave. And really just feel like they're surrounded by nature. So we do a lot of experiments, but taking plankton samples back up to the science lab versus doing them down here, it's a very, very different feel. And so far the students have been really excited about it. Obviously safety is our main concern, and we do have all of the relevant safety gear to ensure that the students are, they have the supervision and they have the safety down in the marine environment. As you can see, it's just such a wonderful opportunity. During the build, there was sightings of things like stingrays coming in the water. We see so many different fish. As I said, there's a whole bunch of fry at the minute. They're using the shade of the dock in order to obviously sort of hang out. And to have students in here, to have students experience real life science, this is what it's all about. And this is really the future. We need young Bermudian scientists. We need young Bermudian students to be interested in the water, to want to explore this as a career field. The environmental field is opening up. So we're trying to give that opportunity for our students, for other students around the island. And my hope is, we built it and people will come. We'll start using it more and more and have some really exciting things to show in the next couple of years.